Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today it's Monday. It's August 5th, 2024. Thank you for joining us on the Truth Central.com. You can find me on X at CorsiJerome1. And on Substack, it's JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. Now, we've got quite a bit to cover today. What I want to start out with is that I think the stock market today is going to finally start crashing like we've been talking that it would. I've been predicting this, and Chris, if you'll show the free book people can get from Swiss America. This is a book that I've written with Dean Heskin, who's the head of Swiss America. It's how the coming global crash will create a historic gold rush. Well, it's happening today, I think. It's starting. Now, gold today is right below $2,400 an ounce. It's $2,389 an ounce. Over the weekend, it was trading at over $2,400 an ounce. It is at $26 an ounce on silver. This is definitely a buy opportunity. Now, why do I say the stock market's going to crash? Well, let's take a look at some of the stories that are coming out. This Black Monday. Typically, Monday can be a very bad day in Wall Street. This is when it crashed in like 1987. And on Friday, culminating on a Sunday night, when everything broke loose in Asia, the Nikkei at its worst day since 1987, sinking nearly 4,000 points. It suspended trading after sinking 8%. South Korea Stock Exchange halted trading. At the same time, again, the brutal selling just looks like it's going to continue now through this morning on Wall Street. By the way, if you've got 401ks and you got IRAs in the stock market, I've warned you. It's too late. If you've got mutual funds that invest in the stock market, you're going to take a beating. I'm trying to prevent you from doing that, saying get some gold, go to Swiss America. We've had Swiss America on the website now for years, and they've done extremely well. Take a look at the Swiss America website. You'll see that there's lots of offerings there. First of all, it's a free book. That's the Nikkei. The Nikkei is down dramatically. And all the exchanges, I think, are just going to be down tremendously. The futures are down. This is going to be a bloodbath today from all indications. You never totally predict until it starts. We'll see. But the Secret War Against Cash Exposed, you can just fill out the form. You can get that book. It'll be emailed to you. It's an ebook. You can get the, if you call 1-800-519-6268, you can get the free copy. How the global crash is going to cause an historic gold rush. That's it right there. We also have the Walking Liberty $50, where you can get up to 250 of these coins circulated. But they have very high silver content, and they're being sold as a lost leader by Swiss America first-time buyers, which is actually virtually being sold at the cost of the coins in silver. So that's good. That's a good deal. You should get yourself some silver. Silver is going to appreciate faster as a percentage than gold because it's only $30 an ounce. It's going to go to $60 an ounce, double very quickly. Your money doubles, whereas at $2,400 an ounce, you're going to have to wait till it gets to $4,800 an ounce before it doubles. And it will take a while. Okay, so please visit Swiss America. I think you're going to find that what happens today, and we'll see as the stock market opens, but they have a variety of techniques they can use. They can stop trading. They can do all kinds of things to limit the losses before it becomes a wild panic. I think it's going to become a wild panic pretty quickly. Why? Because we've got so much debt. We're now $35 trillion in debt, in the national debt. We just keep printing money. Keep printing money over and over and over again. And there's no real solution because the Biden administration's got us now where about 70% of our tax income is going to just pay the interest on the national debt, paying over $1 trillion a year just on the interest. And we've got this modern monetary theory, which says that since we're sovereign, we can just do a $35 trillion coin and pay off the entire debt. Well, why are we borrowing money? Why don't we just print the money we need? The hyperinflation potential of this is enormous, and the middle class is getting killed, and it's intentional. This Democratic Party is a communist party. It wants to have World War III, and it's well along the way in doing it. Chris, you want to comment on the economics? Because the middle class is just getting killed. I'm reporting on this for months, and I hope people listen to the advice.
Yeah, and in fact, another indicator of the of a terrible economy coming or in the middle of is I guess what they call the fear gauge. It's called the VIX. It's sort of it's an investment strategy or an investment. I'll call it a fund, but it's a plan that bets against the market. And if you can see that, if you want to see the chart here, you saw the Nikkei chart just a little while ago going down. Dow is down, Nasdaq's down, not very good. Right here, the VIX is going up, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. It's more or less uncertainty. You're looking at the idea of a question mark, a potential Kamala Harris presidency, and the markets don't really know what to do with that.
It's
We
it's
also
a
had a
train
paper
wreck. It's a
tiger.
train wreck. I know what to do with it. It's a train wreck.
Right, but we had a paper tiger some years ago too. For the last few years, inflation brought up the numbers as far as as far as the markets. The Dow Jones, people don't realize that Dow Jones is not a real indicator. It's, as we know, 30 hand-picked stocks, and that you can bump stocks if they're not performing, just to make sure that just to make everything look better. It's it, it's something you have talked about beforehand. We should always be prepared for this, but it's been a paper tiger for years, and now we're suffering the consequences.
Well, this is the problem, and it's going to continue to be a major issue.
Right.
And we're going to suffer a massive economic global downturn, which is going to be very painful. It's part, I think, of the judgment of God for all the evil we've allowed into the world.
Well, keep in mind the minor crashes over the last 10, 15 years were results of quantitative easing. The easing makes everything look good for a little while, but the consequences come a bunch of quarters later on. And now that's another part of what we're suffering.
Well, quantitative easing means basically we buy our own debt.
Right.
It's all we
And
do is
printing money.
buy our
Yeah.
own debt.
And printing money. Yes.
Okay, so let's cover a couple others. So UK riots. Well, the agenda is becoming clear in the UK. UK, of course, wants to crack down on white supremacists. They don't, they want to allow Muslims to rule the country and Sharia law and all the rest of it. They won't report that. Of course, the people in these cities are getting sick of it. So, they want to, and what you'll do is the government will come in, they'll limit social media and free speech. They'll normalize constant surveillance. They will prop up Muslims, and they will then do all their Green New Deal stuff with this labor deal. And so the Labour government is going to destroy England. And England, I suspect, is going to be chaos for a long time. I don't think this is going to quit. It's going to be, I think, massive disruption. Okay, so Zelenskyy in Ukraine, he got his F-16s, and he's showing them off. He's going to now go after try to attack Russia with F-16s. Well, Russia will probably knock those out of the sky in 20 minutes. But the point is that the Ukrainians still continue wanting to keep this war going. Well, why not? All the money laundering going. From all the reports I get, Zelenskyy and his whole staff are on cocaine, massive amounts of cocaine. Why wouldn't they want to keep it going? If the good times roll, they're not getting killed in the fields. They're just, witnessing another boondoggle opportunity to steal money. But Zelenskyy says we are now in a new phase of development for the Air Force, the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Air Forces, the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Give me a break. This has got to be a clown show. We've done a lot to transition the Ukrainian Air Force to a new aviation standard, Western combat aviation. At the beginning of this war, we've been talking about our partners about. I can hardly wait to read the rest of this tweet. About the need to close Ukrainian sky from Russian missiles and aircraft. We've had hundreds of meetings and negotiations to strengthen our capability of air defense. Give me a break. F-16s are not comparable to the jets Russia's got. They may do okay in Ukraine, but, it's not going to take long to get rid of the F-16s. And so therefore they say target Russia. They're going to target Russia. Well, that'll just expand the war. So I've got the potential of expanding the war in Ukraine. We're just waiting. The whole world is sitting back and waiting for what Israel is going to be. Iran's not going to attack Israel. Israel killed this Hamas leader in Israel. Evidently, they hired other operatives to go kill him. At any rate, we're going to have more ramp up of violence in the Middle East. And Hezbollah is involved. Israel also killed a Hezbollah leader in Lebanon and a Hamas leader in Iran. So Israel's looking at this as an existential threat and not messing around. Everything I can see, Israel is systematically depopulating the Gaza, systematically killing Hamas, getting ready to destroy these tunnels. Well, if this continues, we will have Israel doing everything it can to preserve Israel's security without stopping. And the Biden administration is going to have to go along because the Biden administration right now is solidly on the side of Hamas. And the Jews in the Democratic Party, I can't be happy about this. They've supported the Democratic Party since 1948 when Harry Truman decided to partition Palestine to create the state of Israel, the UN vote. And so now Zelensky's out here to make his F-16s. He's now going to be in a modern Air Force able of going after Russia. Forget it. This is just pathetic. But it's great for graft. It's great for money. It's great for corruption. And that's what this war is all about. Chris, any comments?
And of course, where is our foreign policy amid all this? We're looking at we just had a prisoner exchange in Russia that we saw one of Putin's thugs get released. It always works out for Putin, doesn't it? When it comes to these things, you also have the wars intensifying, as you talked about, in the Middle East, and of course in Ukraine versus Russia. Things are going to get worse. NATO is trying to solidify itself as a more aggressive force. This has been going on for the last a few years, and all these nations know let's say the aggressor nations, the adversarial nations, and we're talking about Iran, Russia, China on downward. They have maybe a 3 or 4 month window to do whatever they want to do until presumably Trump gets into office, and they're all afraid of him. I do believe that.
Well, when you look at the number of British children who've been killed and women killed by Muslims,
yes,
and the increasing unsafety, the risk of rape, sexual assault from Islam, and so you've got what the protests are doing, they're shouting over there, "F Islam."
Right. Nothing wrong with that. They're upset because these people come into the country, they don't assimilate, and they commit crimes against the people who already live there, and by the way, who are paying their way. Think of it from that point of view.
Oh,
If that's far right, well, by gum, that's what I am.
So, and then, you arrest these guys for terrorism, they still walk the streets because they get released by the left. And I think that these riots could get out of control. I think these riots could become massive. And, what's going on is total madness because the people have had it. This British leftist government will use this outbreak of violence, though, to crack down on free speech. They'll crack down on surveillance. They'll crack down on the protesters. They will not listen. They're going to side with Islam. And the Democratic Party of the United States is going to do the same. Okay, now go ahead.
All they're worried about is the stigma against people they perceive as victims and minorities. Everybody else be damned, but that's what they want. It's a left tool. It's a left political tool. Deal with optics, and it doesn't matter because they're safe in their ivory towers, while everybody else suffers the consequences of their poor policy.
Yeah, Japan is, I think, also going to suffer tremendously. This whole carry trade is about to blow up. Japan's going to suffer very, very severely. And what we're seeing here, we're at a world meltdown while World War III looks like it's starting. And this could turn nuclear very quickly. And again, I don't see any responsible leadership in the EU or in the Biden administration, or is it the Harris Biden administration, or the Obama law?
It's always been the Biden-Harris administration according to Biden, and of course the Harris-Biden administration, but we all know Obama's seeking a 4th term right now. That's
The
that's
Ob-
the truth.
the Obama law.
But keep in mind, and I implore people to look at your discussion about the Kissinger papers, because the people who are running the world right now, many of them are depopulationists. They actually see war and potential nuclear conflict as population control.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so the Paris Olympics now with
Yeah.
the all of this global warming. The German men's hockey team has penned the food service, the Olympic Village, calling it a disaster. While British athletes flew an additional chef out to Paris, and of course, the CEO of the UK Olympic Association said the lack of protein, chicken, and eggs was going to impair the athlete's ability to perform. Okay, but no, he's got to eat beans and tomatoes and veggies, and then perform peak, have personal best at peak performance on veggies. Okay, this is insanity. These people are nuts, but we've known that. We know this for a long time. They're nuts. So the polar bear is now being dropped as the climate mascot. Why? Because it's impossible to know the amount of evidence showing the global population of polar bears has increased substantially. Okay, the wind turbine debate, this Green New Deal, now they're getting pushed back on Martha's Vineyard. They don't want the wind turbines off Martha's Vineyard. And Bill Gates is saying that the U.S. military, among investors, is GMO insect protein for humans. Yeah, well, let Gates eat the bugs. All of this is indicating that we've got insanity. Our policies don't make sense. The policies don't make sense. The government's lying. The government's lying here in a massive way. I want to focus on a couple of things that I think are developing very quickly. My book on the Kennedy assassination has taken off, and there is growing concern that what happened with Donald Trump in Butler, PA, was a stand down by the Secret Service to allow a kill shot to be taken. Clearly, they made massive mistakes. They had only a field office there. They did not do a responsible pre-event search of the terrain. I mean, Donald Trump is lucky to be alive. I'm sure they thought they had him killed. Well, the final analysis, which this book with David Mantik, the massive book, and it's done extremely well, shows that in 1963, the CIA and with the Secret Service did stand down. They drove Kennedy into a kill zone on Elm Street that had not been protected or secured. Target was not hardened. Kennedy was killed in crossfire. And shots fired for the first. David Mantik's optical density measurements of the X-rays is definitive. Shots were fired for the first. Okay, so now we know the deep state is out to kill Trump. And we have the Anti-Globalist Manifesto, which is, again, going to be published on the 13th of this month by War Room Books. I've created, with Dr. Carlene Graves, the Anti-Globalist Alliance, the United States and Europe. We're going to oppose this globalism. The best way to do it is say no. Take your kids out of the public schools collapse. Take your school, say, we're not going to participate in this agenda. We're going to go for energy. We're going to go for a variety of new things. We're going to develop it. I want you to look at FIV Stones.com, which is a 501c3 we've created. GODS, no apostrophe, FIVE spelled out, STONES. It's about the David and Goliath story in the Bible, where David takes 5 smooth stones from the brook. They're the exact stone God wants him to select to kill Goliath. Okay, now what we have on here is the evidence that there are algorithms in the New York and other state Board of Election voter databases. Now, this is going to become a big story, and I'm going to be in Ohio for the next couple of weeks working on it because we've got it proved in Ohio We're going to be making it a national story. That within the command center, what leftists have done is they've gone. It reminds me of, I had a cat one time called Orpheus. I lived in New Hampshire. We had a big treehouse where the birds came around the treehouse. Well, Orpheus liked to get himself inside the treehouse. He thought he was going to catch more birds. Of course, he didn't catch any. The birds didn't come around with a cat in the side of the treehouse. But, that he thought it was a great idea. So they're able to put this numeric alterations of the file. So they change the order of your state board of election ID from when you registered, and they can put in false votes, which they can hide in the database and pull out whenever they need them. So if they need ongoing, or they stop counting and then they bring in a lot of mail-in ballots, they're requested by numbers that look like they're legitimate, even though they're false votes. And then they're certified because that number of a ballot is printed and it corresponds with a number of an apparently legitimate voter. Very clever. It's also illegal. As we expose this over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be massive. Now, we need contributions. We need people to donate. And you can donate by going to the bottom and using the buttons down there and donate. $5, $10 helps enormously, because we're going to be expending money here to get this. This is a national story, and it will accumulate a lot of the information from all over the country on anomalies that have been seen in voting. And it's going to explain why they occur. Now, Chris, what do you think of this initiative?
I think it's rather interesting. This may have been going on for a longer time than we think, by the way. I'm looking back to some elections, and I do remember Ohio in 2012. There were some districts that had more people voting than on the rolls or something like that. I'm trying to look
Yes.
for an article about that, but I found that rather interesting in a swing state.
Yes.
When you guys when you and Dr. Graves started God's Five Stones, I was looking back at some of these anomalies from the last 20, 30, 40 years, and this is going to really blow up to something that should catch national attention, and hopefully in the next few weeks before this presidential election.
It will. We're going to make it a national story.
Right, and there's the media left is already taking the purging of voter rolls out of the context that it out of context already. We're talking about states that are getting rid of people who are dead, people who haven't voted in a while, people who are not citizens. This is, but when this kind of thing comes out, when more people learn about this, I believe the context will be replaced again.
I do too. I think this is a massive development, and it's been probably much of August will be spent on getting this to be a national story. I'm going to be on Tony Shaper's show later this morning, and we're going to get that again. Tony has played a major role. Tony will be buttressing this with some written letter affirming that this needs to be investigated.
Now you're on Ed Henry's Wake Up Patriots show. Tony and I do that show together, and he's going to talk to you about this. But check it out, Wake Up Patriots. Dr. Corsi's a regular guest on it. It's normally Ed Henry's show, but we do it, and we have a good time. We love having Dr. Corsi, and he's explained this in depth last week, and he's going to explain it even more today.
So we'll look forward to that, and I'm going to watch the stock market here very, very carefully today, and I encourage you to do the same. Now, we're going to do a little bit of an abbreviated show today. It's going to be a very, very busy day here today. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. We're going to be changing the format of the show with the Anti-Globalist Alliance. I'm going to go to much more of a Joe Rogan type format, a lot more interviews. We'll be featuring that right after probably the election. We'll be developing it during the election. It's going to be a very busy time. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. I think we're going to suffer judgment of God. That God wins does not necessarily mean we win. We've killed too many babies since Roe v. Wade. We've let God be taken out of our schools, our homes, our hearts, going back to the 1940s. The remedy is 2 Chronicles 7:14. We've got to get on our knees and ask God to allow us to repent for not having cleared up these problems earlier. But we will clear them up now. And regardless of what it takes, this is not the end of the world. God's already written the story. God wins. God's sovereign. we have to do our part. Please join me, 2 Chronicles 7:14. Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today is Monday, August 5th, 2024. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless.